Hi, and now I will explain about the core competencies of sime darby, healthcare, motor, logistics, industrial, and plantations. For valuable resources for healthcare is the skilled doctors and specialists that are specialized in plastic surgery and breast augmentation surgery, and they have several different nationality patients. Even the websites are in different languages such as Chinese, Korea, and Japanese. For the motors in valuable resources, it assembling the services, both luxurious and normal brand cars, other services such as distributing, retail, and rental. And the second one is they introduce the sime darby motors retails excellence program, which is as SREP, to strengthen the performance of their retails operation and fastest the network optimizations opportunities. The third one in logistics for valuable resources, they have owns 23 birds that capable of loading and discharging containers such as dry bulk, brick bulk, as well as general and liquid cargo. And the second one is in logistics, they owns the 2 water treatments plants to supply the clean water to residentials, commercials, and industrial users. For the next one, in valuable resources for industrial, they have a machine sale, product support, rental, technology applications, and mobile solutions. For the plantation in valuable resources, they have oil palm resources such as cooking oil, infant formula, shortenings, and etc. For rubber, they have the rubber that is processed to become tires, gloves, stationaries, and etc. The next core competency of sime darby Berhad is the rare resources. There is no rare resources in all strategic business units in sime darby Berhad except for motor. As for the motors, they have a rare resources, which is the only company in Malaysia to assemble luxury car brands such as Rolls-Royce, Lamborghini, Porsche, and Jaguar. For the BMW and Mercedes are not in the category of luxurious car brands. The next one for the core competency of sime darby Berhad is the imperfectly imitable resources. For healthcare, sime darby is this SBU has the possibility to be imitated by other healthcare centers as the services or treatment provided is the same in the line of industry. And for the motors in imperfectly imitable resources is they have the resources that sime darby motor have are imitable since it requires high capital, specialized expertise, and technology to do it. For logistics in imperfectly imitable resources, the cost of imitability is high and therefore the rate or chances to get imitated is low. For industrial in sime darby Berhad, the sime darby industry Berhad is imitable because the company reduces the value added. For example, the sime darby has industry recognitions that recognized by CAT. For your information, the CAT is the Certified Training Facility. And the resources of sime darby industry is in the market, which has wide networks, especially in Asia Pacific region. For plantation in imperfectly imitable resources is since the resources of sime darby plantation is not rare and imitable, so they have a strategic innovator that can create the company's competitive advantage. The example of imperfectly imitable resources of sime darby plantation is rubber, sugar, cultivations, and cattle rearing. The last core competency in sime darby Berhad is the substitutability. In healthcare, it has a high possibility to be substituted as the service provided are almost the same as other healthcare institutes such as KPJ. And for the next one is the motor. The motor in relation to the imitability, the rate of substitutability for sime darby motor is high since the assembly activity are not only for luxurious car but also the normal brand cars such as Proton and Produa. For the next one is logistic. There are a few logistic companies that provided the same service as sime darby Berhad. So from this, customer can choose whether to use a sime darby Berhad services or to move to other competitors. For industrial substitutability, the sime darby industry provided the car rental services that known as Hertz Malaysia Car Rentals, as they have a similar types of services to their competitors as the service are worth of being imitated. For the next one, which is the last one, is the plantations. The plantation substitutability can be divided into two, which are the resources that the firm can imitate from another firms where they can substitute to the similar resources, and the second one is the firm also has a very different product from the other firms.
Alright, let's take a look on Porter's 5 forces that implements on sime darby Berhad. Firstly, Competitive rivalry. There is highly competitive rivalry as there are 153 public hospitals. However, the strongest competitive rival for Sime Darby is KPJ. The customer loyalty is low since the reason why people are going to hospital is to get medical treatment, which is why the consideration is more on the quality, in price and benefit of the service. The cost of living market is also high because there is investment in specialist equipment that can't be used in the other industry, specialized skills, as the such amount of efficient skills doctor is decent and high fixed cost. Okay, the next element is buyer power. The bargaining power of customer is low because the service such as plastic surgery and breast augmentation surgery provided by Sime Darby Healthcare are not common as such in public hospitals. There are not many health centers that provide the same service in market. Therefore, Sime Darby Healthcare is a price maker. Okay, the next element is supplier power. The main supplier for Sime Darby, especially for medicine, is from Pharma Niaga Berhad. However, there are other suppliers that could substitute the supplier which decrease the bargaining power of supplier. The next one is threat of new entry. The threat of new entry in health industry is low as the cost to enter this industry is indeed very expensive. Along with health compliance procedure, it leads to high barriers to entry and low threat of new entry. Lastly, threat of substitutes. The service provided by Sime Darby is likely to substitute since there are many competitors providing the same kind of services such as KPJ specialists. Alright, let's take a look on Sime Darby's plantation's Porter's 5 forces. The first element is competitive rivalry. Sime Darby plantation has highly competitive rivalry among the competitors even though they are already lead the market. Market production size is limited because of the geographical location. There are 44 competitors of Sime Darby, which also listed company in Bursa Malaysia includes IOI company. Next is buyer power. Number of buyer or customer for oil palm is very high because there are many users of rubber and oil palm. It can be used in cooking, motor vehicles and other industrial activities. Sime Darby plantation is the price taker because bargaining power of buyer is high as Sime Darby must follow demand and pricing in the marketplace. Next is supplier power. The bargaining power of supplier is low because there are many suppliers that can provide fertilizers or pesticides. Next is threat of new entry. There is low threat of new entry because the business needs a big hectare of land to build a plantation business. New entry of competitors need to compete with high quality of technology. Startup capital is very high as specialist knowledge in that area. Barriers in this plantation field including government law and regulation. Lastly, threat of substitutes. The threat of substitute is high since there are other plantations company doing the same kind of business such as IOI and IJM.
Now, I will explain about the Michael Porter 5 forces in logistics. For the competitive rivalry in logistics, the Sime Darby Logistics has a highly competitive rivalry among the competitors because there are other logistic companies that provide the same services and value added as Sime Darby Logistics. The next one is buyer power. For logistics, the high bargaining power of buyers gives Sime Darby Logistics to push down the prices as the demand is high. The buyers demand high quality and demand special services such as value-added service including tallying and tagging. Furthermore, there are many other logistic companies that provided the same service in the market and these make Sime Darby as a price taker. The next one is supplier power. In logistics, the bargaining power of supplier is high since the industry is heavy industry and a few suppliers exist in the market. The next one is the threat of a new entry. The indoor logistic, the threat of a new entry in logistic industry is low as the cost to enter in industry is high. In logistic industry, there is certain government legislations such as custom rules, logistic license causes the barriers of entry to be high and low threat of a new entry. And the last one is threat of substitute. In logistic, the threat of substitute in Sime Darby Logistics is high since there are other competitors doing the same thing as Sime Darby Logistics. In industrial, the competitive rivalry is very strong and the number of recognized and influential brands is low. The levels of customers is low since the industry has a large scope of product and services. For the next one is a buyer power. In industrial, sime derby industry bargaining power of buyer is high since their switching costs are low for the customer and they can easily switch to any of the competitors' company. The next one is supplier power. The bargaining power of supplier is low for industrial since the industry comprises from different activities and some activity has many suppliers. The next one is trade of new entry in industrial. The trade of new entry is low since it's difficult for new entrants to enter the industry due to the large investment required. And the last one is trade of substitute. In industrial, the existing of closed substitute product in industry increase the propensity of customer to switch to alternative in response to price increases. The next one is for motors. In competitive rivalry for motors is like sime derby motors have a highly competitive rivalry among the competitors. But however, sime derby motors remain leading in Malaysia under the automotive industry as they provide extra services as distribution and detail compared to their competitors. The next one is buyer power. In motors, sime derby motors has a price taker because sime derby motors is not monopoly company which control is the price of a product or services. Therefore, sime derby motors will have to follow the price set in the marketplace. The next one is supplier power. Since automobile industry is one of a heavy industry, therefore the number of supplier is not as many. Thus, it increases the bargaining powers of supplier. And the next one is trade of a new entry. The potential of a new entry in the automotive industry is relatively low as it requires high capital to enter the industry. And the last one is trade of substitute. In motors, the trade of substitute in the automotive industry is high as there are other manufacturers in the same industry carries out the same services.
Alright, let's move on to sime derby's BCG matrix. For industrial and logistics, they are categorized as question mark. Okay, so what are question mark? They grow fast but consume large amount of company resources. These two SBUs are heavy duty industries and requires large capital. The company has to inject more capital and resources in order to sustain their company in the market. For healthcare and motors, they are categorized as dogs, which means they have low market shares, low rate of growth. The competition in the industry are stagnant because it has some competitors. And lastly, plantation. It goes under cash cow categories, which means they have low growth of rate but has relatively large market shares. That's all from me.